Attention, all Salesforce administrators. If you are a Salesforce administrator or you're in charge of a Salesforce org, you must listen to this video because I'm going to outline the simple steps to fulfilling a requirement that's going to take place and take effect on the 1st of February 2022. No matter if your organization is big or small, it does not matter. There will be no highway option. So this requirement I'm talking about is called MFA. It means multi-factor authentication. Simply put, it means every time you log into your Salesforce org, you will have to provide your username, your password, and an authenticator code from an authenticator app. Some of you may be familiar with this because Facebook actually just implemented this themselves. So you might be already using a Google app or using another app. But Salesforce also has one of their own so that everybody who is a Salesforce user is able to fulfill MFA by the required deadline. So for better or worse, it feels like we have spammers and scammers to, blame for this, like going into the world we live in now. But you know what? Here we are. We've got to deal with it, and I've got the code to prove it. I understand when you're a Salesforce administrator and you're just trying to find a solution to your problem online, you can sometimes be overwhelmed with the number of results or even the number of different answers that you get. And so I just want to reassure you that this video, if you want to set up MFA, there are 3 simple steps, and by the end of this video, you will have it enabled. Or at the very least, have a plan for when you launch it. So by the end of this video, like I said, you will know the exact steps that it takes to set up and enable MFA. You're going to know how to enable your users, all the users in your org for it. And I'm also going to identify the main problem that Salesforce admins are going to come across when it comes to MFA. And then as a bonus for staying till the end of this video, I actually made a video for your users so that you don't have to you can make me the bad guy. Like, you don't have to explain anything to them. This video will walk them through the steps of how to set up their own MFA and, what to think about it going forward. So you don't have to feel like you're forcing them to do something. I'm going to do it. And if you've already gone into setup and you looked at the Salesforce MFA assistant thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I know you're probably overwhelmed. I just want to reassure you, it's not as complicated as Salesforce is making it out to be. But if at the end of this video you still have questions, that's going to be where you go to find whatever answer you have. But in this video, we will set up we will make sure we outline the very simple steps it gets from here to done. So hey everyone, my name is Alyssa Schaefer. I work at Echo Technology Solutions, and I am a certified Salesforce administrator, and I have been working with partners of Salesforce consultants for over 5 years. So the key to running a smooth sailing CRM is to be able to identify the what and the how. What being what problem we have, and the how being how we're going to fix it. So in this video, it's actually pretty simple. We already know what we need to do. We need to enable MFA, and we need to authorize it for all of our users. And the next step is going to be the how. So without further ado, let's get through these 3 steps. Okay, everybody. So we are officially in one of my playgrounds. This is not a live org. Don't worry, you're not going to see any client information. This is simply just to show you how to set up MFA. So the first thing I want to point out is if you saw this multi-factor authentication assistant and you scrolled through this and you saw all of this stuff, I can imagine that you think, oh my God, this is a big thing that we have to do. I couldn't even imagine the number of questions you had. There are literally 15 boxes here to check to understand what we're doing. So the good news is what we are actually going to do, it is a simple 3-step process, and you can literally avoid this entire page after we're done. So the very first step is going to be to enable it. So what we're going to type in Quick Find, we are in the setup menu of your org. If you're a system administrator, you already know how to get here. If you don't know how to find this, then definitely comment below that question. But let's say that somebody else should be setting this up if you don't know how to find setup. So the first thing we're going to do is type in session. And from that search, we are going to go to session settings. And what we need to do is we need to take from the standard multi-factor authentication and add it to the high assurance list over here on the right and push save. So simply by doing that, you have enabled MFA in your org. Now the next step is going to be to assign it to everybody, but simply by this point, it is enabled. So the next step in the guide is we need to type in permission, because we are going to have to create a permission set, and then we will have one system settings that we need to enable, and the rest of it is going to just be to purely assign it to everybody in your org. But you'll only have to do this through one permission set. So we're going to click on permission sets and click new. Now you don't have to get crazy about labeling this. I'm just going to call this MFA, and the description is MFA. This is purely for MFA. Now do not, for the license, don't assign it to any one license. It will be something for every license. So go ahead and just click save at this point. So we're going to scroll down here to system permissions, and we need to enable the MFA user interfaces login. So we need to click edit here. Okay, so it is this one. It is the multi-factor authentication for user interface logins. This is the only box that you need to check, and then go back up to the top and click save. That is the only permission you need to enable for everybody to be able to use MFA. That combined with the next step we're going to take, which is assigning it. Oh, there we go. So it's about halfway through this list. Just so if you're going to find it by scrolling instead of by searching, it's about, yep, halfway through that list. So at this point, we are ready to assign this to, I would assign it to yourself first, and then make sure that your users know what is happening before you assign it to everybody else. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a rollout list of things to do. But for this point in time, what we're going to do is you're going to assign it to yourself, so that you can go through the steps and understand what it's going to be like for your users. And then you're going to combine that with your rollout strategy, and then the video that I have that I'm going to give you at the end of this video for your users to follow this, not this same step-by-step guide, but their step-by-step guide. So manage assignments, and we're going to add an assignment. So we're going to add my user from my playground, Alyssa Schaefer. Assign. Done. Okay, so at this point, we have enabled MFA. We have created a permission set that enables my user to be able to be prompted with MFA, and the only step that is required after this is to go through the motions of setting up your MFA. So at this point, if I log out here, and then this is that playground, if I try to log back in, this is what's going to happen. So at this point, I already set up the Authenticator app that is going to put the verification code in. But if you do not have your MFA enabled and your authentication code set, I'm going to show you a very quick demo on my phone of, there's many different types of authenticator apps you can use. I personally use Google's. However, Salesforce also provides one of their own. If you don't already have this type of code, generation set up for any other website, if you use Okta, Facebook even has it. So chances are you already have a code or an app that generates codes. If I go into my app, it's going to keep generating codes. So at whatever time you are logging in, you're just going to go in and put the code that is prompted. And then when I do the user demonstration, I am going to go through the actual steps of picking and choosing which one is going to be the best one. So with that being said, at this point though, MFA is completely enabled and completely set up. The only one difference you have to do to fully set it up, I'm going to have to use a code to get in here. Don't bother trying to use this to log in. It's not going to work. That's the whole point of that. At this point, the only other thing you have to do is you have to assign that permission set. So permission, oh, we don't need all caps. The only other thing as a system administrator that you have to do is you have to take this MFA permission set that we made, and I showed you exactly what to enable. You have to just assign that to every user, every active user in your org. Now, with that being said, there's a couple of things that we should highlight at this point. So one, you should definitely warn people before you should warn your users before you turn this on. The second thing is remember in the beginning of the video that I said that I was going to identify what the biggest problem is going to be with enabling this? Well, that is when you have people who share a user login. Now, it is Salesforce best practice to always say everybody needs their own login. However, being a system administrator myself, not to mention working with many clients, I happen to know that is, while it is Salesforce best practice, that is also something that does happen. So if you have multiple people that use the same user login, you are going to struggle, because the whole point of MFA is every one user login has one phone. Okay, everybody, so at this point, you know exactly how to set up MFA and also how to assign it so that every single user is going to, have to go through this process in order to log in. Now, as I said, I have a few rollout tips for getting, your users not only on board, but helping with adoption, because there is no highway option. So this is the only way that you can do this. So the rollout steps are this. So the first one is what we just went through, and getting through the setup, making sure everything is ready to go for when you have your live launch date. Now which brings us to number 2, having a launch date. So what I would suggest here is that you have basically before February 1st, 2022, before it is required by Salesforce, maybe January 1st of 2022, have a launch date where you say, okay, on this date and from every date hereafter, this will be a requirement to fulfill, to log into our Salesforce org. Whatever date you pick, just make sure that your users are aware of it. So, which brings us to number 3. Inform your users. Now, the first step of that is literally just to make sure that they know that MFA is going to be required. The second step of that is going to be to share the video that I'm going to give you in a second, so that they feel comfortable with setting it up, and they also feel comfortable with how they're going to log in from now on. And then also, like I said, make me the bad guy. You don't have to take the heat for this. Salesforce is imposing this not only on all of us, not only on all of you and all of your users, but at this point, we don't have a choice. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I want the transition for you guys to be seamless, and then by extension, I want your user transition to be seamless. And it shouldn't get in the way of anything. It should just be one login every morning where you verify who you are, and then you can move on with your day. It doesn't have to be, like what they made in the assistant guide set up, like 20 boxes to check. It doesn't have to be like that. It just needs to be thought through, executed, And, which brings us to number 4, maintained, which means that every single new user you add to your org, you will also have to put it on your list to give them the permission for MFA, to make sure that every single new user you are adding is also being prompted with your MFA authentication whenever they log in as well. So those are the 4 steps to rolling out MFA. Alrighty guys, so at this point I have literally saved you hours of research, and not to mention trying to go through the the Salesforce prompted guide of creating MFA or enabling MFA in your org. Of course, if you want more information, that guide is a great place to go for resources, but at this point, just from watching this much of this video, you know exactly how to set up MFA, how to enable MFA, and then how to assign it to your users as they log in. But honestly, just from what we have talked about, that will be fulfilling the Salesforce requirement that's going to start on February 1st of 2022. So if you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to keep producing videos for Salesforce administrators and people who have to run Salesforce orgs. It'll be with helpful tips and tricks for how to, roll out different things, enable certain features. I think that with Salesforce, one of the things is there's so many customization options that people just get overwhelmed about the sheer volume, or you don't know what is going to help the most. So by subscribing to this channel, you're going to get access to all of the best things that I've learned over the last 5 years. I mean, honestly, like it took a long time to accumulate this information, and the fact that you're going to get it in 10 minutes or less, I think that's a win. And as promised, the first link in this video description is the video that you can give to your users, because when MFA hits like a thunderstorm, you don't want to be caught in that chaos. You want to be prepared. You want your users to be prepared, and you want everybody to be fully accepting of it before the deadline hits. So that's why I wanted to make this video. That's also why I wanted to make that second video. So since you have gotten to this point of the video, it means you have successfully set up MFA in your org. It means that you have a rollout plan for how you're going to get your users to adopt it, which includes the free video that I'm sharing with you, which is the first video in the first link in the description of this video. And since you liked it a lot, I know you thumbsed it up. If you want your Salesforce CRM to give you the best bang for your buck, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, because you're not going to want to miss what we post next. All right, see you then.